Scorpion Brand New Day is definitely a lot better than I thought he would be. A 6/8 with an ongoing ability that doubles the power reductions on all enemy cards, Scorpion Brand New Day is quite the powerhouse of a 6-drop. I was originally worried that this card would not be able to see play in a meaningful way because most Afflict cards get gatekept by Luke Cage. But since Luke Cage's change, there is absolutely room to make this guy work because what he does is stack up so incredibly tall that even if you're only affecting the back row, he's still meaningfully outputting points in some of the lists that he's in. This is a card that I don't think has necessarily found what it's trying to do specifically. It's somewhere between Living Tribunal, a combo deck that all-ins about what it's trying to do, and also simultaneously seeing a little bit of play in mid-rangey Afflictish type shells as well as a little bit of top end and additional power across multiple lanes. The baseline here is that I think this card has a ton to be figured out about how to actually play it, and the decks that it's being played in range from all-in combo decks to very stripped down mid-rangey decks with cards like Pixie and Mobius in them. This indicates that there's kind of a wide breadth of experiences to be had with this card, but the question becomes which one is going to be the dominant one. So let's take a look at some of the best friends of Scorpion Brand New Day and some of his biggest haters. At a baseline, Scorpion Brand New Day's best friend is really anything that can afflict, but we're going to specifically highlight Diamondback here because she gets an additional affliction on top of already afflicted cards, which Scorpion Brand New Day then doubles. So this is a great way to maximize the output of your afflicts while already playing some reasonable cards in an affliction type shell. You're going to see other cards that are pretty commonly played in the affliction shell like Hazmat and Luke Cage, but I think Diamondback is the best example of something that goes from being a bit of a 0 to kind of legitimately incredible with Scorpion Brand New Day. Another card you'll see with Scorpion Brand New Day is the Ancient One, who here also represents a category of cards. Where Diamondback represented Afflictors, Ancient One represents Copiers, and that is a very important aspect of how this card wants to be played. Scorpion Brand New Day stacks with itself. If you can get multiple copies of it, they will double. And so if you have 2 Scorpion Brand New Days, 1 point of afflict becomes 4 points of afflict. And that is the key method behind all of the combo decks that are trying to do Scorpion stuff. They are all built to get multiple Scorpions and then massive afflictions across the board. Another card you'll see a lot of with Scorpion Brand New Day is Luna Snow, who here is representing a third type of category. That is cards that let you play Scorpion Brand New Day and then still have another turn in the game. This can be Pixie, this can be Magik, this can be any number of cards that allow you to play a Scorpion Brand New Day and then on the next turn do something like Mystique Hazmat, Tau Mandala Hazmat. You kind of get where I'm going here. All of the combo decks are premised on the ability to get Scorpion onto the board, and that is a thing that they have to do if they're going to try to copy him. A lot of their ways of copying him rely on him being played as well, so you're gonna need to make sure that you're doing that. For those reasons, cards like this are typically important in Scorpion Brand New Day decks. In terms of ops, I mean, it is Luke Cage. As much as this deck is able to exist because of Luke Cage's nerf, and yes, I do believe it was a nerf, Luke Cage is still the best thing you can be doing against it. What Luke Cage's nerf has done is allow this deck to exist. If Luke Cage was still in his previous form, these decks that I'm talking about right now and this card would simply not be good. Just full stop, would not be good. They would be dead to what this card used to do. Now they can actually sometimes win those games. And that honestly really does matter, because if there was a card that was just shutting this down, we probably wouldn't even get off the ground to try to experiment and figure out what the best thing to do with this card is, because we'd just be losing to Luke Cage too much. But now this card has room to breathe and people can actually start spending time with him. I'm a little more optimistic for Scorpion Brand New Day than I was even after learning about the Luke Cage nerf. He's felt a little bit stronger than I thought he would in multiple different shells. I think he's a pretty compelling card right now, but definitely one that you're going to want to hold off and see what you actually can build with him. The Scorpion Brand New Day list that I've been playing the most of is this list from Ika, a very notable deck builder who was recently my guest on 8 Cubes. This is one of several that he cooked up. I had good results with this one, bad results with the other one, so this one's the one that's going on the video. I am fairly compelled by how this deck played out because one of the most important things in a deck that is trying to do this kind of thing is having some meaningful energy cheat, and this deck has two really solid ones. Pixie can help you energy cheat, and of course, so can Luna Snow. This is also a deck that naturally just has quite a bit of power in it that people don't necessarily expect or play around. And it has enough interaction that you have coverage for various matchups. Thanks to Cosmic Ghost Rider and Mobius, you're not just getting super blown out all of the time. One of the notable things that I think people should probably pay attention to with these kind of Scorpion decks is they are kind of explicitly good against Gambit decks. Gambit decks are very much built on beating scalers that are small, and Scorpion decks are very much built on playing cards that are big and putting a lot of negative power on their side of the board where Gambit can't blow it up. And I do think that's worth pointing out as well. This is a deck that, in cheating the energy that it cheats to play the bodies that are as big as the bodies this is trying to play, is going to be able to do a lot of damage in ways that Gambits can't fix. And I think that's worth pointing out too. This is also just a bit of an open metagame where the power level is relatively lower than it was previously, which allows decks like this that are just doing surprising and decent stuff in odd ways to really succeed. I had a legitimately good run with this deck. I gained about 67 SP, and I think that that's a really solid climb for a deck that, like, I don't even think any Pixie deck was on anybody's radar, really. And this guy really gives this deck a reason to start doing things. And the power output is there. Like, because of Scorpion Brand New Day and things like Diamondback and other Afflictors, I had a game where I beat an Iska that got one of the tacos added onto her to start and doubled 3 times in the Iska lane. I beat that lane because of how many times I was able to afflict that stuff. It's some real output here. There are a couple of directions for all-in Scorpion, but this is the one that I like the most right now. The list comes from Smiz, who is over at Snap Academy and has also been a guest on 8 Cubes recently, shout out. And this is a very cool all-in list where the premise is basically, okay, we are functionally kind of Zombie Galacti, right? Like, that's sort of the space we're operating in. We're somewhere between Zombie Galacti and Living Tribunal. Now, what we need to do is stack up a lane and do something stupid with it, whether that be using the Ancient One and Hope Summers. So you play Hope Summers, you play Ancient One, then you play the Scorpion, then you play the thing on the Scorpion, right? Like, you get what's going on here, right? Like, you have a bunch of just really straightforward ways that are just like, I'm going to ramp out a Scorpion on 5, and then my final turn is going to be either Mystique Hazmat or Tau Mandala Hazmat. And when you do that, it's a billion, right? Like, just doing the Tau Mandala line, I believe, is going to be -8 across everything off of 1 affliction from a Hazmat. That is -32 to every lane that your opponent has, as long as it's a full lane. Like, it's not nothing, and that's not the only thing that you're doing. And you don't even need Magik to access the line that I just talked about, the Hope Summers into the Ancient One, into the Scorpion, into the Tau Mandala Hazmat. That's just like a line you can do in 6 turns. You could just do that. Now, this is still like a bit of a fragile combo deck. You can definitely get blown out by things that are able to, you know, go back and forth with you. Maybe they Juggernaut your Tau Mandala out of the lane. Maybe they Cosmo that lane. Maybe they Enchantress that lane. There's definitely a little bit of telegraphing to be done here. There's also plenty of the fact that this is a deck that needs certain pieces in order to function. We are trying to alleviate that with Blink, but that is just a real thing that does happen here, and you will run into those issues. This is a list, though, that fundamentally I think just does a lot of things right as a sort of tribunal-ish list that really has the ability to put opposing lists that are not planning for the amount of output that it can have in a trash can. Another list that I've seen floating around that I actually was pretty impressed with when I saw Jeff Hoagland play it was this list of just like, we're going to do some basic, let's just curve out some fours in Marvel Snap kind of stuff. I looked at this list and I was like, it's got to be unplayable, right? And then the actual function of playing it is like, oh no, these are just like, I'm happy to play a lot of these cards. Like, there's just like a lot of good cards in this deck. And the metagame's power level is low enough that you're just like, yeah, this isn't that bad. Like, yes, you have next to zero interaction for anything bigger than you, but this is sort of a functional equivalent in my mind. Like, the deck I equate this to is like any Venus zombie deck. Like, that's kind of what this is, or it's just like, yes, I am 12 engine cards. We'll say I'm not 12 engine cards because Red Guardian is technically a tech card, but like, I'm 12 engine cards. We could be real about that. This is the kind of thing where it's like, if my opponent has more stats than me, I will lose, but I'm going to make a real fight out of it. Like, I'm going to actually have a lot of really good stat sticks in here. Like, the worst stat sticks in here are still hitting quite above rate here. Like, Caliban is 11 for 3, Omega Sentinel is 10 for 4, Laufey often bigger, Spider-Man 2099 around 11. Like, these are just a bunch of really big guys, and then your 6-drop is like, what if all of them had a meaningful increase in power? Sort of functioning almost as like a Spectrum or Aurora type of effect, where it's just like, okay, I've got one lane with a Spider-Man 2099 in it, I've got another lane that's about to get hit by a Caliban, I've got a third lane that's going to be hit by a Man-Thing, and now I play this 6/8, and what it does is say, the Caliban is now minus 14, the Man-Thing is now, let's say, minus 8, I don't know, depending on how many small guys they've played, and the Spider-Man 2099 gets an additional effective 3 points of power, and it's like, oh, okay, I get what's going on here. Like, that is actually just a powerful mid-range play. And it's kind of interesting to me how many of these decks are mid-range decks and how many of them are combo decks and how discrete they appear to be. I haven't seen a lot of bridging of the type yet. And my instinct is that at some point we're going to find a way to get a combo package into a mid-rangey deck, and that's going to be pretty scary. One of the really interesting dynamics of Scorpion is that it's kind of led to a rise in Luke Cage, right? And one of the cards that least wants to see Luke Cage is Phantom X, and that is definitely bad here. But what I really wanted to point out here is not necessarily the Phantom X of it all. What this deck is really doing is Jocasta, Omega Sentinel, Prodigy the Jocasta, play Scorpion Brand New Day, because that is 70 points. And 70 points is a lot of points. And I don't know, again, like, I don't know exactly what shell we're supposed to be doing this in. It's very possible that it's supposed to be maybe in the Invisible or in First Steps Jocasta Omega Sentinel shell. I don't know. But what I do know is, wow, is 70 points a lot of points. And I can't keep just ignoring that. Like, just basically this Jocasta Omega Sentinel Prodigy Scorpion, that draw is gonna win you the game. It's going to win you the game. That's a ton of points. And it's a very fragile combo. I get it, but it's a ton of points. And the question is just basically, what shell does it go in? Is it this? Is it Invisible in First Steps? Is it some other kind of like activate type combo deck? Is there other things that we should be doing in this space? Like I said, I think a lot of where my head is at is like, how do we fuse the combo stuff with the mid-range stuff? And this is as close as I could get. It's not perfect. I don't even know that it's good or there yet. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, at some point we're going to find a way that we don't lose the games where we don't combo off, where we actually have a plan B. It's either that, or what we do is we get our plan A to an extremely potent and playable level, and it becomes one of the best decks in the game as a pure combo deck. Either one of those is the path to this deck or Scorpion Brand New Day decks being good. Speaking of a plan B, you can just slap this kind of stuff in Doom 2099 and then slap enough Afflict cards into the deck. The cards that are particularly good with this, Laufey, Caliban, Man-Thing, you're happy to double those effects, but I do especially want to call out Polaris Horseman here. Polaris Horseman with Scorpion is really doing some powerful stuff, and as long as we set up our deck such that none of the things that it's reasonably going to pull are going to be that bad, like, I'm happy to pull a thing like Diamondback deck off of a Polaris. That's just like actively a good thing for me. We get some really solid things going in the Doom deck that probably do raise the power level a little bit, because Galactus First Steps is such a mediocre 6-cost card that it's pretty easy to justify replacing him with anything that kind of makes sense. That said, I do think that I feel like the loss of some of the tech cards here is actually meaningful. We lost Mercury and we lost Sandman. And unfortunately, I do think those are pretty important losses, even if we did get some more power in exchange, because I don't know how much that power is going to matter on a game-to-game basis. On a game-to-game basis, it's very possible that what we're doing is still going to be 2099 on 4, play the Cosmic Ghost Rider, play the Doctor Doom. And it's like, I guess, like, is that really all worth it if we're still going to be doing just that? Wouldn't I have rather had a Mercury than this kind of stuff as well? It's something you can do, but I think this is more just like raising the floor by maybe making the Doom deck a little bit worse. I'm not sure yet, but that's where my head is at. So what is it about this card that has me so transfixed? I think it's the unknown right now. Like, he feels abstractly powerful, and I haven't put a number on it. And I think that, like, this is the kind of card that could be a sort of new age Living Tribunal. How do you describe Living Tribunal? Is Living Tribunal a strong card? Is Zombie Galacti a strong card? How would you describe those cards in terms of strength and power? Because I think that, like, most of the time he ends up being that, but there's so much ambiguity around him where it's like, I feel like it's possible that he might be able to be stronger than that if he can be fused into a deck that has a meaningful plan B. And I think that's really the question. Are we going to be able to find a version of the all-in combo that works cleanly and consistently and doesn't have the same weaknesses every other Magic deck has? Or are we going to be able to find a version of a small ball combo that allows us to have this top-end combo outcome without necessarily getting stuck in games where if our combo doesn't happen, we instantly lose? This is a really exciting card, but it's definitely one that you're going to want to keep an eye on, because answering those questions is going to be key to whether it makes sense for you or not. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I've been KMBest. You've been phenomenal, and I will see you in the next one.